Good evening. Oh, come on, I know it's not cool outside, but let's try to begin. Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. How's everyone? Good. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Winslow Township Board of Education. Today is Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. Public notice of this meeting was given to all board members and associates in a notice dated January 6, 2022. Adequate and electronic notice of this public meeting has been provided, specifying the time, place, and manner in which this meeting is being conducted. It was advertised in the Courier Post, posted in all schools, the administration office, the municipal building, the library, the Badooble Center, Edward Acres, Allentown, and the Winslow Township Post Office. And this is our mission statement. The mission of the Winslow Township School District, a large, diverse, and growing community, is to educate all of our students to become independent, lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and caring and confident members of their community. The district, in partnership with the community and in a climate of cooperation and mutual respect, will provide an environment which values excellence and diversity, encourages our students to strive for personal excellence, and assist them in acquiring the knowledge, the skills, and attitudes necessary to contribute positively to a rapidly changing world. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake.
Present.
Ms. Stratton. Here. Ms. Martin. Present. Ms. Moore. Present. Ms. Nieves. Mr. Shaw. Present. Ms. Thomas. Present. Ms. Peterson. Present. And Ms. Pitts.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
District goals. Student achievement. Continue to implement best practices for delivering instruction to students, utilizing all available and appropriate instructional materials. This shall include A, ensuring articulation at all grade levels throughout the district. B, focus on innovative classroom instruction at all grade levels. C, ensuring all students have equal access to equipment and resources needed to facilitate and promote student learning in any setting. D, evaluation and update all district programs, including athletics and extracurricular activities. E, accountability for all district staff. 2, continue to foster a positive school environment that is conducive to teaching and learning. A, focus on building relationships among staff and families that will result in increased learning and more effective instruction. C, emphasis on collaboration with all district stakeholders. C, promote an inclusive, diverse, and compassionate learning environment. 3, market our strengths and achievements to all stakeholders to increase capacity for greater parent, caregiver, community support. A, continue with our public relations marketing plan. B, continue to work with various advisory committees in the district. And C, extend the communication methods utilized by district.
Board members, awards and presentations, Dr. Ortiz.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, members of the board and community. We have several presentations this evening. We will start with Mr. Deion Davis, our Director of Human Resources, and he will do our 2021-22 HIV.
Good evening. My name is Deion Davis. I'm the anti-bullying coordinator for the district. Pursuant to New Jersey Statute 18A 37-13 and New Jersey Administrator Code 6A 16-5.3, I'm here to report and seek approval for the Winslow Township School District school safety data, which includes information on the district's weapons, violence, vandalism, substance abuse, and harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents for the period of September 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Our incidents for the first reporting period are as follows. Board members, in your folders, you should have a copy of the chart that I'm going to reference. School number 1, HIV. There were 2 alleged incidents, 1 confirmed incident, for a total of 3 HIV incidents. There was 0 weapons, 5 incidents of violence, which were assaults, 0 vandalism, 0 substance abuse, for a total of 8 incidents at school number 1. School number 2, HIV, there were 2 alleged incidents and 0 confirmed, for a total of 2 incidents for HIV. There were 0 weapons, 0 violence, 0 vandalism, 0 substance abuse incidents. So they had a total of 2 incidents. School number 3, there were 0 HIV, 0 weapon. There were 4 instances of violence were characterized as assaults, 0 vandalism, and 0 substance abuse. So they had a total of 4 incidents. School number 4 had 0 incidents in all categories. School number 5, HIV, there were 2 alleged incidents, 9 confirmed incidents, for a total of 11 HIV incidents. There was 0 weapons incidents. There were 8 violence, which were 4 fights and 4 assaults, 0 vandalism, 0 substance abuse, for a total of 19 incidents at school number 5. School number 6, HIV. There were 2 alleged incidents and 1 confirmed incident, for a total of 3 total HIV. There was 0 weapons, 8 violence, which were characterized as 4 fights and 4 assaults, 2 instances of vandalism, 0 substance abuse, for a total of 13 incidents in school number 6. Middle school, HIV. There were 27 alleged incidents, 30 confirmed incidents, for a total of 57 HIV incidents. There was 1 weapons incident, 29 instances of violence, which were characterized as 19 fights, 3 threats, 6 assaults, and 1 false public alarm, 0 instances of vandalism, and 1 instance of substance abuse, for a total of 88 incidents. And then our high school, 0 HIV incidents, 2 instances of weapons, 14 violence, were characterized as 3 fights and 11 assaults, 0 vandalism, and 0 substance abuse, for a total of 16 incidents at the high school. So our total for this period, HIV, were 76 incidents. There were 3 weapons incidents, 68 violence, 2 vandalism, 1 substance abuse, for a total of 150 incidents during this period. September 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021.
Board members, are there any questions? Mr. Davis, I just have, I think 2 questions. Under the weapons column, I see that we have 3 reported weapons. Could you tell us what those weapons were?
Sure. There were 1 at the middle school and 2 at the high school. And that, I may have to get back to you to tell you specifically what they were, because I don't have that in my notes specifically what they were.
Okay.
So that I can send an email to the board members tomorrow, what specifically the weapons were.
Okay.
Because it said weapon possession, but I don't have exactly what it was.
All right. Can you tell us what it wasn't?
I don't know why, because that's reported out of, so I don't have the full report, so I have to go back to look at it, so I don't want to mistake.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, I can just give you specifics, I'll email all the board members tomorrow.
Okay. Just one other question. Mr. Davis, on the middle school, under the HIV, I see was 27 alleged incidents but then 30 confirmed, so they picked up 2 more, 3 more?
No. Alleged means that they weren't confirmed.
Right,
So, right, so you had a total of 57 total.
okay.
So 27 of them were not confirmed, 30 were confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
You're welcome.
Any further questions, board members? Ms. Moore?
Mr. Davis, under vandalism, I see issue for 2 incidents for school 6. I was just curious, because I thought that during that TikTok challenge that we had some vandalism incidents. Are they not reported on here, or is it because they couldn't be tied to a specific student?
These 2 at school 6 were damage to property and vandalism. So I'm not certain during that time period, but the TikTok challenge from what, if there was vandalism that met the criteria. I know there is specific criteria for it to be characterized as vandalism, etc. So if it didn't meet that specific criteria, it would, be reported here.
Thank you.
Board members, any further questions for Ms.
One more
Moore?
question.
Ms. Peterson?
Compared to 2019, it appears that the increase.
We were out for COVID-19, yeah, so the numbers are going to change just because of the period we were out for the pandemic.
2019 went out.
I want to say, I think we go out in March 20. So looking back, because you're now talking about, 2-3 years ago, off the top of my head, I don't recall, I probably may have been up, but I don't want to speak specifically, I don't have 2 years ago information in front of me. You're welcome.
Board members, any further questions for Mr. Davis? Hearing none? Thank you, Mr. Davis.
You're welcome, thank you.
Moving on now to our next presentation.
Yes,
About
Madam
our own
President,
program.
yes. The year before, I would say 2018-19, the school district implemented a drone program. And we really never had an opportunity to see that program grow, because shortly thereafter, we went into the pandemic, we were out of school. This program was pretty much hands-on. But we had an opportunity to see, to show the board and the community what we're doing. And I think the program has done an excellent job in maintaining what our objective was for that particular year. And now we have an opportunity to bring our teacher in this evening, Mr. Goodman, who is our teacher, and I know he brought a couple of the students with him. So rather than me try to explain all the things, all the good things they're doing in the program, Mr. Goodman, would you share with us what's happening in our drum program?
Oh, you can keep going if you want.
Thank you for coming in.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Giovanni Guzman. I am a drone instructor teacher at the high school. I was asked to come here, like Dr. Poteet said, to present and talk about the things that we've done with the program. Before we get to that, I want to thank the administration of the high school for their support. Both Mr. Murrah and Mr. Shropshire have been very helpful with providing resources. Anything I've asked for, they've given it to me. I know Mr. Morella asked me to make a wish list for next year, which he might regret because it's going to be a long, long list. We'll see what we get with that. And I'm not going to go over the presentation, actually. I'll have my students do it. DeAndre Moore is going to be our pilot, and then Anthony Bombara is going to go over the presentation.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Anthony Bombara. I'm a senior at Winslow Township High School. I've been in the drone technology course now for 2 years. Year 1 was my junior year, and year 2 is now in my senior year. So in year 1, we begin with basic engineering, and our first lesson is the engineering process. So it's self-explanatory. Me and my colleague here, we go through each of the steps. First, we define the problem. Then we identify the criteria and constraints of the select problem. We put our minds together to then brainstorm multiple solutions. We then test those solutions, see which one is the best, select an approach, follow through with that approach with building a prototype, and then test and retest again until we get desired results. So one example of one of our first engineering projects was our Goldberg Machine, which we were tasked to do at home because we were out for COVID. And we were assigned to use several different simple machines. So that is levers, inclined planes, and several others to just create a complex way to solve a simple problem. So I know the video up there has no sound, but that video is DeAndre describing his machine, which was used to feed his dog. And the second video should be him doing his third test trial, I believe. Again, I apologize for the sound. There it is. So that was one project we were able to complete at home. I did one myself. And we both had a lot of fun doing it. So after we did the engineering part, we moved on to drones, and we started with the history of drones. Now, the picture you see up there now is the first known example of an unmanned aerial vehicle. In 1849, Austria attacked Venice using unmanned balloons packed with explosives. Now, as we advance in history, the picture you see up there now is the Gyroplane 1, which is one of the earliest attempts at creating a quadcopter, which is a model of the drone that you see in front of you there on the floor. Now, this was the first model, but as you can see from the gargantuousness of the machine, it would have taken a lot of manpower, so it did fail. But it was the first step. Now, as we advance to World War I, the picture you see up there is the Ruston Proctor aerial target. Now, this was one of the first pilotless aircraft developed and used in World War I. It is considered one of the first drones used by the military, and also not pictured up here, but like the picture, was the U.S. Navy's Tutoring bug, which acted much the same as the one up there. Then we advanced to World War II, and during the 1930s, the U.S. Navy and the British government, as well as the German government, unfortunately, began experimenting with radio control. Now, this was one of the biggest breakthroughs in drones because it allowed for unmanned vehicles to be controlled from a different point, so you could actually target different areas with more precision. On the left, you see the Queen Bee drone, and of course on the right, the famous B-1 Doodlebug that was used in the war. And now in modern day, everybody knows the left side. That's the Predator drone. That is the most up-to-date and modern drone that the U.S. military uses now. And on the right, for civilian use, many companies, including Amazon, are developing delivery drones to kind of phase out the on-the-road delivery of packages and different things. Now, the Amazon delivery drone was supposed to go into the Amazon fleet, I believe, in 2019, but it is still pending approval and insurance and that kind of stuff. So, modern drones that we use, especially in the classroom, or the ones you see on the presentation right now, that is actually the Mavic 2, and we use them primarily for video and photography. The one up there on the screen is actually the same model as the one here on the floor. And we flown it around the high school and took different pictures and different videos of, just the wood line. It has 4K video resolution. Its max speed is actually 72 kilometers per hour. And it actually has advanced systems like obstacle avoidance sensors, as well as the follow me feature, and a a going home feature. So if you lose sight of the drone, or if the drone goes out of your reach, you can actually press a button on the remote control that will allow the drone to come back to the spot from which it took off. That is the home landing spot of the drone. So we've used plenty of those different sensors out in our test flights around the high school. So now we will fly this beautiful drone for you if you like. As you can see now, it was actually landing without my colleague here doing anything to the control. All he did was slide the specified button and it landed on its own. Now, after we learned about drones as a whole, we started with the fundamentals of flight, which not only applies to drones, but applies to all aircraft. So we went through the history of flight. Of course, we have some physics in there, including Newton's 3 laws of motion, Bernoulli's principle, the 4 forces of flight. And we also went into designs of planes and drones. Now, we did do one project, which was the Airfoil Experiment. This was also done during the pandemic. And that is the design of a plane's wing. And as you can see by the video, the curvature of the top and the flatness of the bottom, when wind is applied, create lift, which is the basic principle of how our regular jets and passenger planes can fly in the air. Then we moved on to drone design. Now, this we started in the year 2 program, which is the year that me and my colleague here are in now. And we went through the different parts. So you see the airframe is up there now. We have the motors, which of course control the actual flight, allow for the flight, of the drone. We have the propellers, which create the lift, much like the airfoil does on the passenger plane. We have the ESCs, or electronic speed controllers, which are actually hooked to each motor, and they control the speed of the propeller, which controls the speed of the drone, how high the drone is in the air. We also have the flight controller, which is like the brain of the entire drone. Everything is plugged into the flight controller. As you see on the drone in front of you now, well, actually you can't see it, but there is a flight controller in the middle, covered by all those wires, where everything is plugged into it. If that is not working, then we have a problem. Now, of course, then you have your batteries, which are your main power source that everything runs from, and you have your transmitters and receivers. So the transmitter is what my colleague is holding right now, and the receiver is on the drone. And the transmitter, of course, receives transmissions from the drone of basically what to do, the directions of flight. Now, this was actually built by me and my colleague here. It took us about a month and a half. Yes, so we took about a month and a half to build that one. Through some different kinks and whatnot, we're still working out. But it was a major feat that my colleague and I here accomplished when we finally did get it working. And later in the presentation, we actually have a video of our first test flight and some pictures of us constructing the drone. Then we moved on to, obviously, the law. So you get into the regulations and the FAA guidelines that any pilot, whether that is a pilot of a passenger plane or a drone, need to follow when they are flying. So they, of course, need to regulate their airspace. They need to make sure that nobody's around, that we definitely have spotters that can actually see the drones, and then nobody is being put in danger when we fly the drones. Then we went into drone assembly. Now this gets into a lot of the pictures and documentation of how we constructed the drone. All of the parts that I described earlier are seen there on that table, and all those parts on that table are now what you see in front of you with the drone. First, we had to start soldering the different wired connections. Those are the pictures that you see up there now. That is actually kind of the inner workings of the entire drone. You can't see it, of course, because it's covered by everything else. But without the soldering and without the electricity connections, nothing would work. So then we have, the picture on the left is us that finished the soldering, and then the picture on the right is me and my colleague actually putting the different airframes together and the landing gear, as well as the propellers, I think we put on there as well. The left side is the completed drone, all constructed and put together, and the right side is, yes, that is me, trying to figure out how to program the drone. So we had to program the transmitter and the receiver, and I would say that that was probably one of the hardest parts because we were running into a lot of problems. The directions that we found that were provided with the box actually were not very clear on how to do it, but through some brainstorming of me and my colleague here, we did accomplish and we did program the transmitter to run the drone. Now this is the video of our first test flight. It was actually taken about 2 weeks ago.
First flight is now at a point of go towards the lower left. Hold it in. There you go, baby. Sorry about that.
We were all excited.
We could afford it inside. And you're okay. Second try. I think so. Sorry about that. I think so.
Yeah, somebody keeps- We have had a lot of fun and we've learned much. I am actually considering going to college for engineering and hopefully pursuing technology in the future. So thank you very much, members of the board and crowd tonight. We hope that we were entertaining and informational. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deandra. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Any questions for us?
Mr. Goldsmith, could you give us those two gentlemen's names very slowly?
Sure.
I suspect that going forth, not too many years from now, we're going to hear those names in places like maybe NASA. Because very, very impressive.
I'll have them say their names themselves.
Okay.
And, yes, come on, introduce yourself, gentlemen.
My name is Anthony Bombera.
And my name is DeAndre Moore.
Thank you.
We want to take a couple pictures. My philosophy is during trying times, keep trying. Okay? And so you hang in there, and we are impressed. We wanted to have you come today because this is one of our new programs, one of the programs we are proud of. We do know that upon graduation, you guys have options that you can consider as it pertains to drones. We know that drone development and drone certification is one of the most growing, fastest growing fields in America today, because drones are being used for everything imaginable. So I think you've done an excellent job. As a matter of fact, the presentation, you handled yourself very well, very professional. Gentlemen, I just want to commend you and just let everybody know. Now, what high school you represent tonight?
Winslow Township.
There it is. Is Mr. Corruption?
Not that.
Well, he gonna listen to it. Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm acting giggling like a proud father and superintendent, I just want you to know that I am. I am. For these young men to build their drum from scratch, excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm impressed. And this program is better with the high school, ladies and gentlemen, for all of our students. And we are anticipating that the program will continue to grow and provide opportunities for these young men. The next presentation we have is for our middle schools. Let me get on with the things I should have brought up in the first one. This is big. We'll call out tomorrow. All the other features of disability. Christmas back. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier this year in one of our previous school board meetings, we mentioned that our middle school principal received an honor, and at that time we felt just mentioning it to you so that you would know. However, we did not feel that what we did that night was appropriate for the level or the nature of the honor that was bestowed upon our principal. However, I just want you to know that for the past couple of years, it's been difficult. It's been challenging in our schools. It's been challenging for all of us. It's been challenging professionally and personally. And I want you to know that we've tried to do everything we could to acknowledge the success of our students. Last year, marketing committee, beginning of this school year, marketing committee acknowledged the accomplishments of our students, particularly at the high school, middle school, and even during these difficult times, we are always at it. We have been dealing with so much adversity. A lot of times we forget to celebrate. We forget to celebrate. And I think it's important that every opportunity we get, we celebrate and acknowledge the accomplishments of those individuals we work with on a regular basis. So tonight, we're going to acknowledge our middle school principal, but we want you all to know that these individual awards of this nature does not come just because of that individual. These awards come as a result of a lot of people contributing to make this thing happen and to make these kinds of opportunities available to all of us. So we want to first acknowledge the Winslow Township Middle School staff for all of their hard work and all of their support of Ms. Weingomer in making the vision that she had years ago come to fruition. And without their hard work, without their perseverance, without their commitment to making the middle school what it is today, it would not have happened. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to acknowledge the Winslow Township School District staff, middle school staff, who are here this evening. And ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand? Ladies and gentlemen, while they're still standing, under normal circumstances, the middle school age child is one of the most challenging children in the school district. Without question, because we all know middle school children or young people at the point where they are still deciding whether or not they're still a part of elementary or they're still trying to keep themselves ready for high school. But anyway, they are the most challenging group of young people we have in the school district. And these individuals are to be commended for your hard work and sacrifices, because during the pandemic, it even multiplied the perseverance that they had to portray and do on a regular basis in order to get us to where we are today. So I want to personally thank you on behalf of the administration, the school board, and the families of this community. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you. Everyone. So let's get to the honoree. And I want the honoree to know that there's no crying in baseball. Dr. Carter, would you assist me, please? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know Dr. Carter is known for these baskets. She usually makes these baskets every year to acknowledge her staff. But I want you to know this basket, she went above and beyond what we would normally do, because when I lifted it off the stage, I knew there was something different about this basket. So I know Dr. Carter went beyond what she would normally do. And at this time, we would like Ms. Stella Weingomer. See, she won't vividly this evening. Okay, we would like Ms. Stella Weingomer, principal of the Winslow Township Middle School, if she would come forward and receive, you can just take off. I want Ms. Weingomer to school tomorrow. We want to truly acknowledge Ms. Weingomer. She is the first principal in the history of our township to receive this award. She is. And I want to make a fuss over this because to be the visionary principal of the year is very, very prestigious. There will be a press release coming out within the next couple of days, and we have some TV people coming up to do some interviews with Ms. Weingomer and her staff. Ms. Weingomer is one of the very few principals over the years, particularly even in South Jersey, to get this award, and she'll be representing the state of New Jersey for the national meeting. So for those of you who may not understand the magnitude of what we're doing here, this is big, ladies and gentlemen. Truly an accomplishment that this entire community can be proud of, because she's representing not only the Winslow Township School District, she's representing the Winslow Township community. And I think that she is more than worthy of doing so. So on behalf of the Winslow Township School District, Ms. Stella Weingomer, this is Okay, now see that, you can tell I didn't make it because Mrs. Dr. Carter telling them be on.
I don't want that.
I mean, tell
Or
us.
to serve anything. So Dr. Shelby is correct. I did add a little extra sugar and spice in this basket for a lot of reasons. But the most important thing to me in putting something together for this Montgomery was when Ms. Montgomery interviewed with us for principal's position, she interviewed for an elementary principal position. So at the end of the interview, we had a discussion about all of the applicants that came through. And I said to Dr. Lipsky, there's your middle school principal here. So when we offered this one, she was shocked. She said, but I interviewed for the elementary position. And I said to her, but we need you at the middle school. So Ms. Montgomery always tells me that it's because of you that I'm here, but not in a good way. So I had to add a little extra special something in here to show her that even though it wasn't the place that she wanted to be, we need her where she is, and she's made a tremendous impact. So I am so honored that I'm able to stand here and just do just a small thing for this one woman. And I've forgiven her for all of the time that she stole my items to those other students that went here in the middle school. We got past that. But I love her dearly for what she has done for the district and for the children. And Ms. Montgomery, and I also love this one because we are also a part of the same wonderful story.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Montgomery's father is here.
Yeah.
And we want to acknowledge her father. And all the staff members, we're swinging around to the board. Congratulations, Ms. Stella Montgomery, Principal, Winslow Township Middle School, New Jersey, Principals and Supervisors Association, 2022, Visionary Principal of the Year. This will hang in vestibule, lobby area at the middle school. If you have been in the middle school lobby here recently, we have her United States Department of Education, Green Ribbon School banner up there, of course, the district seal, and then we have this large space on the other side of the number there. So we felt it was appropriate that we hang this banner in the middle school, commemorating the success of this one. This one, we've been there for 13 years. 13 years, you're talking about longevity, hanging in there. So, come on up, sir, and all the staff members. I'm going to let you hold up. How about you, sir? This pleasure. Hold it down to this. We get this one. And I want all the staff members to get behind. You want to move out a little bit? Maybe just move out a little bit. Now, this one, we're going to see dead. Right behind. And you see it. And all the time, just come on. Stacey, can you get that? Did everybody say it?
I'm going to do two guys. Hold on.
Now, before, we just want this one over, you know, this is, but I just would like to say that, I can recall, early on when we first hired this one, she knew that she had a tough job ahead of her, and the young people that she had in her, let's say we had to, modify some behavior over there. And this white woman was standing in the lobby near the doorway. And of course, this is before we done all the litigations. And this white woman represented not only the past but the present. She brought some of that tough love, old school discipline to the school. And I recall her speaking to one young man, he was coming in, a little disorderly, whatever. This white woman said, "Don't bring it in here. Don't bring it in here. Don't even get started." They knew it was a new day. And from that point on, she had the most difficult challenge in the district. And here we are 13 years later. We talk about consistency, perseverance, hard work, the epitome of what we have now. And look at us. This one woman, you brought us from a school in needs of improvement. You brought us from a school that had a cloud hovering over it as though it was going to rain every day to national prominence.
So special to me. Thank you, everyone. This is the first time in my entire career, I think 33 or 34 years, where I've had the opportunity to be in the presence of my father, who is the person who dragged me down to Camden County College when I got out of high school and had no clue what I was going to do. Next thing you know, we were on the bus to Camden County. You're going to school. You're going to school. And I got my wings, a little wind blew beneath my wings. And before I knew it, I was at Rutgers, and then Douglas, and it continued from there. And so the joy of having the opportunity to stand before you and give my father his flowers and to say thank you publicly is an honor. Dr. Boutique, board members, Dr. Carcamo, fellow administrators, and not last, but certainly the wing beneath my wings at Winslow Township Middle School, the Winslow Township Middle School staff. Thank you for now. Thank you for today. When I came into this district, several of you had the opportunity to interview me. Raise your hand if you were on that committee. There's one. Come on, there's another one. If you interviewed me for this job. Mr. Martin, don't be trying to be shy. They interviewed me for this job. They had panels of staff members that participated. And I was talking to Ms. Kent one day, and she was saying, while you were interviewing, we were just checking off the list. Everything you were saying, oh, we need that, we need that, we need that. From the door, I was welcomed. And buy-in is not easy to get. But this staff, even when I seemed like I was going in a crazy direction, they hung in there. I want to thank you for having faith. I want to thank you for the support. We are like a family. We have tough days. It's a middle school. I would say it's a middle school. We have good days and bad days, but we're always there together, hanging in, and we have one common goal, and that is the education of these fine young people that we are blessed to be in front of every day. I count it a blessing every day that I come to Winslow Township Middle School, and I get to walk the halls and laugh and fuss and be in the presence of all these wonderful young people that the families charge us with for 6.5 hours every day. We are blessed. And you being here this evening was a blessing for me as well. I thank you. But you're always there. And like Dr. Poteet said, you are, you know how they say, I got people? You are my people. You have been doing the work. You have had faith. And even in some of the initiatives that didn't seem quite, like, what is she doing here? You hung in there anyway. And the sustainability, when it first came along, none of us knew what it was. But you hung in there. And for every time we win an award, for every time that we receive recognition, I think of you. I can name every single project that got us to where we are now. I think of all of your hard work and your dedication. And I want to take this opportunity to turn this around and say thank you again to the Winslow Township Middle School staff. Thank you. Again, I want to thank Dr. Poteet for nominating me for this award. Thank you for having faith in me. Thank you for encouraging me and supporting me over these 13 years, because it couldn't work. It wouldn't work without your type of leadership. And I've worked for 3 districts, so I know. So thank you for all the faith you've had in me, myself, and my staff, and for all the resources. Thank you, Dr. Carcamo, those given and taken. Thank you for the support. You're all. Your endless pockets are so appreciated. But again, I don't want to take all your time. I'm very honored, Mrs. Pitts, that email you sent me, it made my world. It made my world. It was beautiful. And just as a moment, I also received a beautiful letter from our late Honorable Mayor that my father and I were so happy to have received not long before he passed. But we are most grateful for all the opportunities. And I just want to mention him because he was so supportive of the middle school throughout the years. So I just had to mention our Honorable Mayor Barry Wright. Thank you, everybody. It's been an honor.
Now, Dr. Jack Mills will be in touch with you either tomorrow or Friday. We're going to get that banner home immediately, so we want to see if we can get it taken care of this week. So Dr. Mills.
Already got it.
Got you. There it is. Thank you. And
I'll get that.
but if you need some help, we'll get one of these fine young men to carry it out for you. All right, Mr. Davis, when you're ready. Mr. Davis, when you're ready. This might go let you know, teacher. Thank you, Mr. Pitts. At this time, I'm going to turn our board meeting over to Ms. Boyle, our business administrator, for her budget presentation.
Before I give the budget presentation, I'd like to complete my duties as the board secretary. I believe, Madam President, that Mr. Davis may need a motion from the board in order to submit his advisement.
Thank you for that reminder, Ms. Boyle. At this time, board members are asking for a motion to approve the report that we heard earlier that was submitted to the board by Mr. Davis. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept Mr. Davis's HIV report.
Second. Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blair to accept the report by Mr. Davis, which was a summary of our school safety for the period covering September 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. No further questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake? Yes. Ms. Dredden? Yes. Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
The motion has carried.
Thank you.
Tonight, we're having the tentative budget, we're presenting it to the board for approval. Board members, we have a presentation, this one, the first slide presentation. I'll keep it as concise as possible. So we will discuss where our budget, what our budget looks like right now, and compare it to what we're proposing for 22-23. In terms of state aid, 21-22, we received $44.2 million, and for next year, we're receiving $44.6 million for an increase of $377,140 in state aid. In the preschool aid, we received $729,606, which is $257,000 over the prior year award. And so if we look in terms of state aid, we did receive an increase this year, a total of $634,638. In terms of federal aid, again, it's semi. I mentioned this in previous years. It's a calculation that is done and presented to us. We don't always meet those numbers, but in 2021, 2022, they anticipated us receiving $244,403. Next year, they're saying, okay, 235,553, which is a slight decrease of $8,850. In terms of local contributions into the general fund or to support the general fund operating budget, in 2021-22, we had a tax levy of $51,577,965. 22-23, we're going to anticipate $52,609,524, which represents a 2% tax levy increase. In terms of fund balance, in this year's budget, we contributed $3.2 million. For next year, we're going to anticipate a contribution of $5.3 million, an increase of $2.1 million. And in terms of a withdrawal from capital reserve, in this year's budget, we withdrew. Yes, I always forget, sir, thank you. Withdrawal from capital reserves, I'm down to the last category. So in this year's budget, we anticipated $6,966,000 for projects that we wanted to advance to maintain our buildings. In the 22-23 year, we're anticipating a withdrawal from capital reserve of $5.5 million. So overall, and that's a decrease of about $1.4 million from the prior year.
So overall, the net of the increases and the decrease for the capital project nets out to a $1.7 million increase. So just to consolidate and see where our revenues are coming from, 52.6 million is going to come through the local tax levy, and that's with the 2% increase. State aid went up to 44.6 million. We're going to anticipate 200,000 from extraordinary fund balance. We're going to make a contribution of $5.3 million. Tuition revenue, we're going to increase or anticipate 3 million, approximately 3 million, and that's through our agreement with Chiselhurst. We're also going to anticipate 80,600 in miscellaneous revenue, which is refunds, use of facilities, and interest revenue that comes in. Semi, of course, that number was provided to us of 235,000, and the withdrawal from capital reserve of 5.5 million. So we're going to have a total operating budget of 111 million 740. Excuse me, 111 million 742,069. In terms of budgeted appropriations, of course, we have to adopt a balanced budget. So if we have the revenues, we have to have anticipated expenditures or appropriations at the time. So the first one, as we mentioned before, was the withdrawal from capital projects and capital reserve, and that's to support a capital project, which is going to be the upgrade of the HVAC system at school number 6. That's $5,554,229. Other budgeted appropriations for instruction, we anticipate spending 42.1 million in instruction, 11.6 million for tuition, 11.3 million for student support, 7.7 million for administration and information technology, operation and maintenance 8.7 million, student transportation 8.1, and with the cost of gas, I hope that will cover it. Benefits 15 million, interest earned on maintenance reserve about $500, capital outlay 6.3, and that does include the capital, the upgrades to the HVAC system, the 5.5 million for school 6, and our vehicle rotation where we anticipate purchasing 7 additional buses each year, and transfer to charter school about 707,555. Total operating budget $111,742,069, which ties back to our appropriations. So this slide shows a comparison over the last 3 years. It shows us 2020, 2021 actual revenues and expenditures. And also we have provided a revised budget as of 2021-22, and this is as of February 1. It is inflated slightly from, if you see in the middle column under revenues, we had 1.5 million in prior year encumbrances that rolled in, and those are orders that were placed, and yet the equipment or whatever we purchased hadn't arrived yet, so we have to bring the money in so that when the equipment or services provided, we have it there to pay. So that's slightly higher. But you will notice the comparison between the revenues with the state aid, the tax levy, the state aid, the tuition revenue. You see tuition, we have a slight increase. Again, with the I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. You'll see the other local sources. You'll see the miscellaneous revenue in all time. And of course, in the 2022, 2023, we're anticipating the 5.5 million for the HVAC upgrades at School 6. And our budget from fund balance of 5.3 million, so we have the 111,742,069. In terms of how we're going to appropriate the money and spend it, you can compare where we are this year as of February 1 as opposed to where we're going to appropriate the money for 22-23. In instruction, there's a slight increase of $1 million. There's a 1.3 million increase for student support services, which include tuition and other student support services. Administrative costs and information technology, we are having a slight decrease this year. The cost of transportation is up, again, with the cost of fuel, 8.7 was supported. And benefits, we also have a slight increase, but only about 30,000. Transfer to charter school, again, another slight increase, and that's contingent upon the counts that we get for the number of students that are enrolled in the charter schools. And capital maintenance projects, 6.3 million. Again, that's a decrease over this year because we are doing fewer projects. So this is the proposed 22-23 budget. It's item number, it's on page 11 of our agenda. We're presenting to the board our general fund budget of $111,742,069, supported by a tax levy of $52,609,524. For special revenue fund, we are allowed to anticipate 85% of the current year awards, with the exception of one-time funding. We received one-time funding of ARP ESSER 3 funds in this year that we will not receive again next year. So when we get to the budget presentation, full budget presentation, we'll see a decline from special revenue fund for last year compared to this year. So again, our total budget is $116,445,176. That's taking into consideration both funds, supported by the $52.6 million in the tax levy. So we have an adjustment of $430,000 where we are taking money from the general fund to support the preschool program. So you can't count that twice, so we have to adjust that out. So the total budget is $116,015,176, supported by the $52,609,524 tax levy. Any questions? Ms. Pitts?
No, I don't think we have questions, just gratitude and thank you for being able to crunch these numbers. And so when I sit down with my husband on our household budget, I'm saying, word.
So, Madam President, for our budget hearing, it has to be presented prior to May 9th. We have a board meeting on the 11th, but that's past the due date. We may require a special board meeting on May 4th, which is the Wednesday before. Just for the public hearing, and that way we will be able to submit the budget document prior to the deadline.
So that special meeting, this will just be for that singular item, and that is the budget. Board members, we understand that. So the notification will go out for the May 4th special meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Boyle, I actually have a question. Yes. So this is just like a preliminary budget that we're submitting to the county, not necessarily the itemized budget that we would see in the public hearing, is that correct?
Correct, I cannot release the detailed budget until it's been approved. So this will go out to the county superintendent and the county business administrator. They will go over it to make sure it's compliant and then get back to us. Once it's approved, we can then print the advertised budget and put it out into the paper for the public. The board members will also get copies. If you have questions, feel free to come into the office or go over the detailed bonds. Thank you. You're welcome. I do want to say too that this budget does not, we have no reduction in force, and we are still, the district has not ever charged pupils to participate. This budget doesn't do that either.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle, that's good news. Any further questions? Board members, moving now. Let Ms. Bill, we'll get to the seat before we move on and ask for these questions.
Madam President, we have no correspondence this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Moving now, board members, to our minutes. I'm asking at this time for a motion to approve the minutes of our Board of Education meeting, our regular meeting that was held on March 9th, 2022, open session. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve our board meeting minutes from our March 9th, 2022 open session meeting. Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Dredden? Yes. Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Evans? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Moving now, board members, asking for a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting that was held on March 9th, 2022, closed session. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve our regular meeting minutes from March 9th closed session. Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Dredden? Yes. Ms. Martin? Yes. Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Evans? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Moving now to our board committee reports. Would there be at this time a report out of our athletic committee?
Not at this time. Our next athletic committee meeting will be next Wednesday at 5:30. It will be a virtual meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Would there be a report out of our education committee?
No report at this time. The education committee will be meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. via WebEx and Thursday, March 24th.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Would there be a report out of our equity equality committee?
Not this time, I agree.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Moving now to our marketing committee. Would there be a report out of our marketing committee?
No report, but we will meet next Monday at 4:30.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Moving now to our operations committee. Would there be a report?
Yes, it will, Madam President. The Operation Committee met on Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022, at 5:30 p.m. In attendance were Ms. Fred, Committee Chair myself, Ms. Thomas, Ms. Pitts, and Mr. Shaw. Also in attendance were Ms. Boyle, Ms. Chico, and Mr. Mills. And the following items were discussed. 1, 2020-2021 mini projects. The acoustic ceiling renovation. The acoustic ceiling and the wall panels have been installed in the music room at the high school. We are still waiting for closed out documents from the vendors. B, middle and high school refrigerators, freezers replacement. The middle school punch list items have been completed. The vendors have moved on to the high school. The old units have been demolished and they are moving forward with the installation of the new unit. 2, high school, stage flooring. The work is progressing well. The removal of the original flooring has been completed.
The vendors have moved on to the installation. The project is on schedule. 3, 2021-2022 capital projects. Several projects were approved in the 2021-2022 budget. To date, we have not received DOE approvals. However, the paperwork has been submitted to the state and land architects and consulting municipal engineers are preparing the bid specs in anticipation of the receipt of the DOE approval. 2022-2023 tentative budget hearing. The tentative budget hearing is scheduled for tomorrow night board meeting, which is tonight. The board will be requested to approve the submission to the executive county superintendent prior to the March 28, 2020 deadline. The budget will be supported by a tax levy increase of 2%. 5, request for proposal RFPs. The district will be issuing RFPs for professional service for the 2022-2023 school year. These will be posted in the coming weeks. 6, miscellaneous items. A, uniform assistance. 8 applications covering 8 students are on file. 4 have been approved and 4 remain pending. The meeting adjourned at 5:55 and the next meeting is scheduled Tuesday, April the 26th, 2022.
Board members, would there be any questions with regards to the report out of our operations team? Nieves?
Yeah, I was just wondering what projects for our 2021-22 budgets hadn't been approved by DOE yet?
Mr. Wavis, if I may answer that question. We had several projects, I meant to bring the entire list. There are circulation pumps at schools, I believe, our elementary schools plus the middle school. We also have fire alarm replacements, I believe, at the high and middle school. Security replacements, do you know, high and middle as well?
I believe so, yes.
Security. There are many, let me just say, there were many of them. Parking lot improvements at the BOE, the middle school, and that access road to the high school. We're also resurfacing the tennis courts at the high school, for example.
Thank you, Ms. Wells.
These, I'm sorry, Ms. Davis, the paperwork has gone up to the DOE and we are anticipating receiving the approval.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Any further questions with regards to the operations committee function? Thank you. Moving on to the policy committee. The policy committee will be meeting, the next policy committee meeting will be held on Thursday, April 28th. I believe that last meeting, Ms. Ford, you had a question with regards to the policy committee meeting from March. And I believe I stated that there would not be a policy committee for March simply because at the time of this month, we have no additional policies to review. And on occasion that may happen, but it will not change the schedule that I have set up for our policy committee, which is the 4th Thursday of every month. So therefore, to the policy committee members, Ms. Nieves, Ms. Drayton, Ms. Martin, and I believe that you did get an email to that effect from Dr. Parker on this meeting will be on Thursday morning. Any questions? Thank you. Moving now to our Citizens Advisory Committee. Ms. Martin, will there be any comments, questions from our Citizens Advisory Committee?
Yes, Mr. Thomas will read the minutes.
Good evening, everyone.
Board of Education Citizens Advisory Ad Hoc Committee is formed by the board for the purpose of seeking advice, recommendations, and providing widespread involvement in issues affecting the district. On 3/10/12, we met in attendance with Joe Thomas, Jennifer Moss, Marcy Thomas, Tish Thomas, Christy Manzoli, Rosemary Hoffman, Carolyn Carter, Cindy Scully, Michelle Kane. Board administration attendees were Rita Martin, Cheryl Pitts, and Rebecca Navic. Discussion of chair. Tish nominated Joe and Christy to co-chair. The two co-chairs would be me, Joe Thomas, and Christy Manzoli. Christy asked if there was any remaining forms or any remaining discussion that needed to be completed from the last Citizens Advisory Committee from last year. Also, one discussion was effective September 2022, the new uniform policy. Joe expressed his interest in phone calling each member to see individual ideas about the committee and goals that we can commit to for the 2022 season. Michelle mentioned discussion to keep Winslow students in Winslow. Joe wanted to chat about health curriculum. We will look into the specifics. Next meeting, as Rita will be able to provide a copy of the curriculum that's for our district. Committee is able to meet directly. We have to, per Rita approving it. Joe asked for focus on mission statement of the group. Rita referenced the group's receipt of the guidelines packet for the CAC. Rita read the mission statement. Christy asked for discussion. Christy asked to discuss a meeting framework. Rita discussed possibility of creating an agenda ahead of time. She also requested a meeting to be kept no longer than an hour. Marcia requested meetings in the summer months. Michelle reminded the group of discussions from the last meeting of previous sessions to desire to be read in the minutes from the previous meeting to start each new meeting. This allowed the communities to keep tabs on the progress and recommendations. Michelle stated last year took informal survey of topics via email 2 days prior to the meeting to help set an agenda. Rita requested something from the CAC to read the minutes at each BOE meeting. Ms. Pitts noticed it would not be necessary for the CAC to be at every BOE meeting, as the board meets twice a month, the CAC meets once a month. She's also noted August was the month of BOE goes on retreat. Cindy would like to discuss the math program she has brought to the attention of the BOE at the next meeting. Rita requested Cindy email her specifics so she can have proper materials with her to share the next board meeting. Our next meeting will be April 7th, 7 p.m. in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Board members, any questions in regards to the minutes from our CAC meeting?
I just wanted to know that shouldn't say uniform policy, it should say dress code policy.
Mr. Thomas, okay. Thank you. Oh, also, Mr. Thomas, in your minutes, I just would like to be clear with regards to the fact that I indicated that the board does go on retreat in August, but that did not mean that the board did not meet in August. It simply meant that that's the month of our retreat. Okay, thank you, Mr. Thomas. Moving now, board members, at this time, still on page 2, I'm asking for a motion to approve the superintendent's report that begins at the bottom of page 2 and continues through to the bottom of page 6. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the superintendent's report. Wait, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Pruitt. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Yeah, no, please. So I have two. I'm sorry. The first one is on the policies.
Okay, can you give us a page and a nice number?
Page 2, 10-2.
10
For the second reading.
10-2. Okay, page 2, 10-2 on the agenda?
Yes, page 2 is under superintendent's report,
Okay,
number 2, grade 2. So I just want to reiterate, what I stated at the last meeting, that I don't understand why the full board is not getting the policies showing the portions that are being changed. I know you stated that that was extra work for administration, but if they are being given to the policy committee that way, I don't understand why that's extra work. They have to be copied for us anyway. So why can't we just get the copy so that we don't have to sit there and compare them? I mean, we're all busy. So I just think that that would be a better way, and I'm not sure why there's pushback on that. Because I know it's been requested before.
okay, you're correct. It has been requested before, and just to be clear, Ms. Moore, there is no pushback. There is no pushback. There is an explanation. Okay? And there is consideration, but there is no pushback. And as I stated before, with regards to our policies, very often there are times when we have to go through 8, 9, 10 policies, and each policy may have about 7 to 8 pages to it, which means the top department does indeed have to go through and make the changes. Sometimes the changes are significant, sometimes they're not. But that does produce a lot of highlighting with regards to having that available to board members now. Going forward, it is a consideration, and I have had a conversation with Dr. Carcamo, so I'm just asking for you and the board's patience, because I expect that we will have a resolution for you by the April meeting.
Okay, I'm just not sure why there's an issue. If she's doing the work anyway, why can't they just be copied for the rest of us that same way? We all get copies, so it's just we don't get the highlighted copies, and I just don't understand what the issue is.
Okay, let's have Dr. Carcamo give you a better explanation.
So I stopped the highlight. It was a tremendous amount of work on my part.
Dr. Carcamo, we can't really hear you.
So I stopped the highlighting. It was a tremendous amount of work on my part, and it is. And as Mrs. Pitts said, that some of the policies are extremely long. So that means that I have to read every one, go back and highlight everything so that you guys can understand. So I too have to use both of the policies to compare, the old. So I changed the format that I submitted to the board, so no one received any highlighting from the last set of policies. And that's what Mrs. Pitts is talking about, how we're going to move forward with doing the information, because it is a tremendous amount of extra work on my part. So what I provided to the board were the edited policies, my editing of the policies that showed what was new, what the strikeouts were, and what the additions were. There was no highlighting. So I chose not to do that.
So I just want to make sure I understand. When I was at the policy committee last year.
So what I know.
Process, the procedure has changed.
That's correct, it has. And so what this board, the policy committee received, no one on the policy committee at our last meeting received any highlighted things. So I don't do the yellow highlighting or the red highlighting anymore. So what I gave them was the markup. And that's what everyone reviewed then. And the markup saves the work of creating multiple copies of everything so you can see exactly. I'm giving you the existing policy with the markup on the existing policy, so I don't have to explain to you that here we deleted this word, added this word, we are changing the coding citation here and here. It's already there. So it's like a edited copy that you are getting.
So Ms. Moore is asking you to trust us, the board to trust us, that we will be able to work this out, I believe, to everyone's satisfaction.
Mr. Spence, if I may.
Yes, Ms.
back
Mayor.
off a little bit. I will say that I do appreciate Dr. Carpeno's, the strikeout method is much easier to read as opposed to the highlighting, marking up, and it's a matter of doing it once and then making copies. So I think what maybe might solve the problem from this more is if we're all just giving that copy of the markups. And I would even take it one step further, for transparency's sake, and maybe for the community who's reading these new policies as well. Maybe we should upload that marked up copy to our agendas when it goes on the website as well. Because even for the community to have to go back and try to figure out what's changed in the policies, I think that might be cumbersome as well.
That sounds like a reasonable resolution, Ms. Nieves, thank you. So we will certainly, at our next board meeting, or perhaps before Ms. Nieves, make note of that, because that, it sounds doable. Okay?
Ms. Pitts, may I ask that we continue the discussion regarding that, how we proceed forward?
I'm sorry, Dr.
May I ask that we continue the discussion as to how we move forward with the policies?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have one other item, and that is on page 4, number 11.
Page 4, number 11, the 2022-23 district calendar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wanted to know if the Friday, July 1st and Wednesday, October 5th, are those contractual holidays?
Yes,
They are?
yes,
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to know.
yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Ms. Pitts, I have one more.
Yes, Ms. Nieves.
I know usually, not always, but we do start on the day after Labor Day, but I do notice that there's 2 teacher in-service, so I didn't know if that was something new in addition to the in-service that we normally receive throughout the school year.
It varies from year to year, it depends on what day the day appears on the calendar. So it may vary from year to year.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
All right?
Any further questions?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Page 5,
Mm-hmm.
number 19, have a page.
Page 5, number 19, the high school social media assembly. Page 5, Dr. number 19, the high school social media assembly. In case the date is determined.
Right, Mr. Morella is here. Mr. Morella, do you guys have a date for the social media assembly at the high school?
Dr. T, we do not at this time. As a matter of fact, the prosecutor's office is having a time scheduled.
Okay, thank you. So it just sounded, thank you. I thought maybe since we printed it.
That's fine.
No, we don't have to.
All right, thank you.
Okay, board members, any further questions with regards to the superintendent's report? Thank you. Hearing no further questions, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Dredden?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. And Ms. Pitts?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Moving now, board members, on page 7, with regards to the business administrative board secretary's report. Before I ask for a motion on that, I draw your attention to page 9, number 11. It says, membership renewal, the Mexican American School Board Association. There's just one adjustment there, one modification. It has to do with the account number. What is there, you're looking at the account number is 11000200895, and the change would be the part of that account number where it says 200, it should be 230. So the correct reading for that account number would be 11000230895. So So at this time, board members, I'm asking for a motion to approve the business administrator or secretary's report that begins on page 7 and concludes at the top of page 12 with the adjustment that I just made. Is there a motion?
Motion to, motion to accept the board administrator's support secretary's report with the adjustment on item number 11 to change the account number.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Reagan?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves? Yes. Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. And Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Moving now, board members, I'm asking for a motion to approve the personnel report that begins at the middle of page 12 and continues through to the top of page 14. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve personnel report.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Reagan?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson? And Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Moving now, board members, to our agenda. At this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve the agenda. I believe we do have it on our pink sheets. The superintendent's report, as it appears on our agenda, begins and ends on page 1. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the superintendent's report on the agenda.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Would there be further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Reagan?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. And Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Moving now to the personnel report, as it appears on our agenda. Beginning, I'm asking for a motion to approve the personnel report that begins and ends on page 2. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the personnel report as it appears on the agenda.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Ms. Reagan?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. And Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. At this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve the business administrator or secretary's report as it appears on the agenda, beginning with page 3 and continuing through to the bottom of page 5. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the business administrator or secretary's report as it appears on the agenda.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Would there be further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Reagan?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Nieves? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Moving now for the members to page, still on page 14, the Open Public Records Act.
Yes, Madam President, during the period of March 4th, 2022 to March 17th, we received and responded to one request that was from Ms. Judith Smith, and she wanted the salary for all Winslow Township Public School employees for the 2020-2021 school year. Those documents were supplied and submitted.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Porter. Moving now, board members, to old business. Would there be any old business that you care to discuss at this time?
I have something, Mr. Pitts.
Ms. Nieves?
I just wanted to thank Dr. Cote for including in our last board meeting agenda the parental engagement strategies that I had typed out, and I look forward to further discussing them with the rest of my board members.
Thank you, Ms. Nieves. Anything further? Old business?
Yes, from the town hall meeting last week, I personally had some concerns about the low number of participants, in person and online, so I did a non-scientific poll. And I just want to share a few of the comments. I'm going to share all of them with you. I will email them to you. So one thing that seemed to be a common theme was that a lot of people felt we should have it on a different night of the week, because the people who can't come to the meetings normally can't come to the town hall. It's on Wednesday. So, some people said they had to work, they were scheduling conflicts, it was sports and other things. One of the main concerns was about the audio, and I think people were so frustrated with the audio situation and not being able to hear that they just had basically tuned out online. And there was also suggestion that we have smaller group meetings at individual schools, which I thought was an interesting comment. And this was my favorite, and it says, I didn't attend because light refreshments were being offered and I wanted a steak dinner. She was joking. She said, next time serve steak. This district doesn't do anything right. But seriously, she said she had a scheduling conflict or else she would be in here, so she was sorry she missed it. So those are just some of the comments. There's probably about 5 pages after I took all the other stuff out. So I will share them with you with some food for thought for the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wu.
May I ask Mrs. Moore a question?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore, how were you able to acquire that feedback from the community?
This was on Facebook on the Proud Parents of Winslow page.
With regards to old business, I would just want to remind all board members that there is a financial statement that we are statutorily required to complete by April 30th. And for those of us who have been here for a while, I know I did notice that this year's financial statement was just a bit different. It was set up, constructed just a bit different from the years previously. So, but still, it is a requirement that we make sure that all board members complete that financial statement and move it forward to the state. Any other old business? Okay, moving now, board members, new business. Was there any new business that you care to discuss at this time?
Madam President,
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Can you speak to the mic? Oh, you don't have a mic? Well, I guess you can speak into it. Let's get Mr. Blake to the mic.
I wanted to make a motion, and I want to make a motion about acknowledging the land that we discussed at the town hall meeting last week.
Now, Mr. Blake, I'm just going to ask you just to do one thing.
Yes.
Just lower your mask because I didn't hear the motion clearly.
I didn't make the motion yet though, but I just wanted to, when we did our town hall meeting last week,
yes,
and we were talking about being more inclusive rather than exclusive. And I wanted to start the meeting, and I don't know where we'll put this in the agenda. I'm assuming right after you read the mission statement, but I wanted to acknowledge the indigenous people of this area. So I wanted to somehow put that in our opening discussion or meetings, just to acknowledge them, like almost like we're saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So I wanted to bring this up to the board to see what you guys think about adding that language or that acknowledgement in our meetings.
Well, Mr. Blake, I think that's a good suggestion, but before we bring it towards the board, I'm going to ask you to create a small paragraph for us with regards to how you think we should have that represented on our agenda. And once you do that, bring it back to the board so that the board can take a look at it.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other new business? Moving now to informational items.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, I have a few information items. If you would go to our website as well as our Facebook page, you would have been able to see that Governor Murphy's inaugural Youth Engagement Week started Monday, March 21st, and it will extend until Friday, March 25th. It's entitled Engaging Today Brings Change Tomorrow. There's additional information on our website. If you would just go there, take a look at it. If you're interested and want high school students as well as members of the community to log in and be a part of those discussions. Many of the topics include climate and sustainability, college access and affordability, healthcare, civic engagement and working in government, veterans support and services, social justice, diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging, jobs and business, structures and systems of government. So that will be available for the remainder of this week. So if you go to our website or Facebook page for additional information, and you can log in and be a part of those discussions. I would like to announce, I think we've pretty much settled in with the number of meetings we've been having recently. Real Talk with the Superintendent will return Monday, April the 11th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. That is a week earlier. We normally do the third Monday. We'll be on our spring break at that time. So we'll return on April the 11th. That's the second Monday in April. All right? Just want to mention to the community, because it's important that everyone understand the spring break begins April 15th and ends April 21st, which means Friday the 22nd, the school district will be open. Unfortunately, that's a snow day that must be made up. I know a lot of people will be on vacation and they have already planned that vacation beyond that Friday. And I want everyone to know that since school will officially be open, as children are not in school that day, of course they will be marked absent. So I want to be able to say that early, and we'll repeat it several times prior to the spring break. The school will be open on Friday, April the 22nd. Just like any other day, if you're not present, then you will be marked absent. All right? I wanted to reiterate that because, we get into conversations where people say, well, we didn't know you were open. We are open, unfortunately. I want to also repeat, as we did at a town hall meeting, that our after-school tutoring program will start Tuesday, March 29th, for those students who've been recommended by their teachers and principals. The parents of those children have already been contacted. We will be servicing those young people 1st through 8th grades. And those tutoring sessions will take place on Tuesdays and Thursdays, right after school for a minimum of 1 hour. And we will be providing snacks for those young people during those sessions. Madam President, that concludes my information items for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Coachman. Moving now, board members, to our public comment portion. The Winslow Township Board of Education highly values the input of citizens in making important decisions that affect the children of our community. We also believe in the rights of citizens to observe our meetings, to ensure that all citizens have the opportunity to attend or call into our school board meetings and offer comments, and to ensure that the board can conduct important business of the district. We ask that speakers and callers follow these guidelines for making public comments. The board president or board secretary will recognize those individuals who are here or call in who wish to make comment. Please respect these following procedures. 1. All members of the public attending school board meetings must treat each other and the board with respect. Number 2, kindly state your full name and address. Number 3, please limit your comments to 4 minutes. Number 4, please submit your questions to the board that you may not have been able to get answered at this time. So we're asking that you submit your questions to the Board of Education with your name, address, and telephone number where you can be contacted. Your questions will be answered within a reasonable amount of time. Individuals offering citizen comment are not permitted to make personal attacks on any district employee, board member, other testifier, or member of the public. At this time, I'm asking for a motion to open the meeting to public comment.
Motion to open the meeting to public comments.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. All in favor? Any opposition, any nays? Thank you. So now we are open for public comment. Mr. Boyle?
Madam President, nobody has signed up to participate in public comments. Are there any waiting room? Nobody in the waiting room.
No one's in the waiting room. So, as we have done the previous meetings, we will get that in a few minutes. Because we do know that there's concerns about our technical abilities to already hear us. So we'll get to this. Okay, board members, at this time, I'm asking that a motion to adjourn the public comments.
Motion to adjourn public comments.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. All in favor? Any nays? Thank you. Mr. Long?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. We do have a need for executive session this evening, specifically under JSA Technical Ordinance 12B, subsection 8, matter of personnel. We have 2 supervisory staff members to discuss. Should take approximately only 10 minutes, like, so we usually do, we should get back right around the 9.
Thank you, Mr. Long. So, board members, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve our moving into executive session.
Motion to approve moving into executive session.
Blake, second.
Moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Blake. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Deanne? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Finch?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. We now